This episode is brought to you by Heyday. Feeling stressed? Take a moment for yourself with Heyday. Stroll through rows of golden wheat, tend to cute barnyard animals, and discover the joys of a digital farm retreat. You don't have to hop in a car or catch a plane. Escape to the farm at the tap of a finger. With Heyday, you're not just tending to a farm, you're tending to yourself. Heyday. Search Heyday, that's Hay space DAY, in your favorite app store. Heyday is a free-to-play mobile game and offers optional in-app purchases and random rewards.
Hilton brings you new ways to stay, with experiences that let you capture the glory days. Introducing the Graduate Hotels. Each inspired by local college towns, these stays are always original and never boring. Get in touch with traditions all across the country and enjoy a stay that's a class above the rest. Book at Graduate Hotels with Hilton Honors Points at Hilton.com. It's a win-win. Hilton, for the stay.
On today's episode of the Retro Gamers Podcast, Anthony Chu returns as co-host for the first time in a year. We cover a few pieces of fun retro news, and we do a dive into alternate mascots for the big 5 retro game companies. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Retro Gamers Podcast. This is episode 410. Anthony here, and
Anthony.
And my friend Ant. Anthony, welcome back to the show. It has been a very, very long time.
Absolutely. I think it's been too long. I think the last time I recorded or came onto the show was probably like with you, probably over 2 years now, right?
Yeah, it's been a really long time. It's been at least a year and a half to 2 years with me.
Right.
It's been about a year, I think, since you've been on the show. And let me tell you something, that is by far a year too long. You can't stay away that long. I'm not going to allow it.
Yeah. I love being here. I love being here talking about retro gaming and everything that goes along with it. So thank you for having me back. I really appreciate it, man.
No, you are always welcome to be on the show, and I'm really happy to have you back because, again, you are one of the people who I have not only been friends with for the longest time, but I have gamed with for the longest time. I mean, we're talking 40 years
at least.
At least 40
definitely.
years of gaming. It's insane.
Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. But welcome back to the show. How have you been?
I've been great. I've been great. The Virginia life, the DC, Maryland, Virginia life has been great. Just a lot of work as of late. I'm actually growing out this a little bit more because I'm actually trying out for an improv troupe.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
Yeah. So basically the Horizon Theater Works folks at in Northern Virginia. And they also have a branch out in Montgomery County in Maryland. I want to try out for an improv troupe. I'm curious to know. I've always wanted to do it. They're basically they really go through a lot of different topics. They're coming up with different ideas, and it's exactly what it says. It's an improv troupe, so it keeps your mind sharp, your wits there. Both of us coming from New York, we have a sharp wit, so. It's I just wanted to test myself, just to challenge myself, because it's something I've never done before, and I like challenges. So
I think that's a really cool thing to try. But now I got to ask a question: is the beard mandatory for the improv troupe? Because you said you were joining the improv troupe, and that's why you're growing the beard.
Yeah. So I'm trying out for a particular story that they're coming up with. I play a character, or at least I'm auditioning, trying out for a character who's this down and out musician. Who was past his prime, down and out musician, who has to he's basically in this limbo after passing, and he has to choose whether he goes to heaven or hell. And I played, it's a one-person act, so I want to try that out and see where it goes. And I'm actually going to use guitar skills to play.
Oh, nice.
It's not recorded in or ad-libbed or anything like that. It's actually me playing fingerpick guitar. So let's see. I'm more nervous about that than the acting part,
Yeah, of course.
I haven't touched guitar in a while, so yeah.
All right. Well, that sounds great, man. Well, good luck to you, or I should say, not good luck, but break a leg, right?
Okay.
And you gotta let me know how that turns out.
The last time I played guitar was Guitar Hero. So
Okay.
it's
That
been a
doesn't
while.
count. That does not count.
Okay. All right.
That's like me saying, "Oh yeah, like I'm a great guitarist on Rock Band," you know. But yeah, but always, like I said, always a pleasure. It's great to see you. It's great to chat
Thank
with
you.
you. Aside from like, before we started recording, we spent like an hour just catching up, which was awesome.
I know, yeah.
We
We're just busy, and then just being
life.
able to catch up is a blessing.
Yeah, life, man, it happens. But
Definitely.
today's going to be a really interesting topic because it's going to be one of those topics where it's all opinion based, right? This is all going to be subjective, and I really have fun with topics like these because again, you get to kind of create off of your head what you think the best option would be. But before we get to that topic, I wanted to do a few bits of retro news, and I also wanted to cover really quickly anything maybe you've been recently like. Have you been gaming at all over the last, well, I don't want to say last 2 years since we've had an episode, but have you been playing anything recently in
I
your
have.
catalog?
Back and forth, back and forth. I'll be honest with you. And I'll tell you something interesting. I've been gaming. I'm trying to get my nephews into retro gaming. So I have a nephew who's 9 years old now,
Nice.
and that's about the time that we started gaming. Maybe a little earlier than
I
that.
was definitely younger. Yeah, I was like five or
Yeah,
six.
I think for me it was about 6 years old, and I started to get my nephew into it. Now it's interesting that a lot of these modern day games that you see out in the market right now,
Hmm.
um, you can a lot you could play rather fairly easily. At least to me, I think that's rather easy. Like I was playing Mafia 3,
Okay.
and and then I was playing also like some sports games. So I love action and sports games, right? So for me, that's my thing. And my nephew's 9 years old, and he's easily playing Halo. He's playing different games that are, for me, I can, it doesn't take much for me to catch on.
Hmm.
But then I had him play, like Mike Tyson's Punch Out,
Ah, good
or
one.
I had him try to play Super Mario Brothers, and it was difficult for him to kind of understand that that there are patterns,
Hmm.
that there's strategy involved. You have to think. So it was tough for him. Like he couldn't get past Piston Honda.
Oh,
You
wow.
know it,
Okay.
and he just couldn't understand why. And I tried to explain to him strategy, and he's like, "Really?"
Hmm.
So I've been going back and forth with some retro gaming as well as modern day gaming. Um, Still, I like revisiting my old games, like my PS1. I still have my mom kept my Nintendo 64, the original N64, as
That's
well as my
awesome.
SNES.
Excellent.
So I just need to find the wiring, and then I want to play some Riddick Bowe boxing. I'm into that type of
Oh my
thing.
gosh, I remember that
So
boxing game. That was a great
Evander
game.
Holyfield boxing, I think.
Hmm.
Didn't Foreman have one too?
I don't know if Foreman had one. And I thought the Holyfield game was on the Genesis. I don't remember it being on the Super Nintendo. Maybe it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I like boxing games. I
Yes.
love boxing games. So I'm into that kind of thing. So um it's just there's just so many of the games I get, man, I have to catch up. So like once I'm not at work, you'll see me
Yeah.
right behind this TV right here. So I
Nice.
got a 70-inch TV, so it's good for me,
Oh,
you know?
wow. Okay. You'll get some serious boxing on that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. The characters don't look like this. So
Exactly. All right, that's really cool. That's a good pile of games, and I'm glad to hear that you're getting the next generation into it a little bit more,
yes.
and not just current gaming, but more retro gaming,
Right.
because we need to grow that retro gaming audience, that new generation of them.
My other nephew, who's 5 years old, is just you know fascinated by what he sees on the screen. Because my brother's home has a 65-inch TV. So
Hmm.
as they're playing Tyson's Punch Out, they're playing. I introduced them to several other ones,
Hmm.
like besides Super Mario Brothers, just like Tecmo Football, I
Nice.
believe. There's it's just several of them, and they're really, really, really into it. Legend of Zelda, that's another game he couldn't get past. He
Excellent.
couldn't understand the third, fourth board.
Mm.
It just,
It takes
it's what makes
time.
us
It's
sharp.
Yeah, it
you know?
takes time, it's repetition, it's understanding
Yep,
the patterns and everything
exactly.
like that. It's a different it's kind of it's a different kind of gaming from today's gaming. So
Definitely.
so
Definitely.
you have to like build up that skill set. So I totally get
Hmm.
that. That's
Right.
really cool. Um,
Exactly.
all right, cool. Yeah, on my end, I haven't been what have I been doing? No, I've actually been doing some retro gaming, which is cool. I just recently played Mighty Morphin Power Rangers on the Super Nintendo.
Oh,
Uh, I
I
played
love
through
that
that,
game.
so I'm going to be posting a game playthrough of that on YouTube in the near
Mm,
future.
mm.
And I also played just yesterday. I don't know why it popped in my head and I threw it on and I just played through it on my PS5 because I bought like the remaster or the repackaged version. Parappa the Rapper on PlayStation.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so just some random stuff like that. I've literally just been grabbing random things and like getting in the mood. I also purchased from somebody in the area. I love Facebook Marketplace. I'm always on there. But somebody was selling a bunch of PC games, like 60 PC games, old PC games from like the 90s and early 2000s.
Whoa.
So I picked those up and I'm so happy with the collection. I got stuff like in box like Baldur's Gate 2, World of Warcraft, whole huge collection. And I don't know if you know this, Ant, but like to my left here, you see this monitor. I actually have a Windows 98 PC sitting here. So
Nice.
yeah, and you can see some of my collection up here, but
Mm,
like I have a whole other stack now back here of games. It was just a really good
wow.
haul. And then the last thing I did, not necessarily retro gaming wise, but in terms of television, I just caught up. I watched the second season of Castlevania Nocturne on Netflix.
Mm,
I don't know if you
okay.
watched. I don't know if you watched any of the Castlevania
I
series.
have
There,
not. No, I haven't gotten a chance to get around to it.
yeah, so there are two series on Netflix. There's the original Castlevania series, which has like three or four seasons, and then Castlevania Nocturne, which has two seasons, and the second season just came out.
Okay.
Nocturne, I thought was excellent. I mean, the original Castlevania series I thought was really good too, but there was something about these two seasons. They were so well done, really put together well. I love the animation style they're doing with it. Definitely worth a watch. If you're a Castlevania fan, definitely worth watching. And it's got like a little bit, it's more of that like very stylistic, almost anime style to it.
Hmm. Hmm.
So well done. So
Mm,
I definitely highly recommend Castlevania Nocturne when you get a chance.
okay.
Um,
I will
yeah.
definitely get to it.
Okay. All right. Well, we're gonna do a little bit of retro news, and again, I've only got like a handful of things. The first one is actually current news, not retro news, but I just want to announce it because I just thought it was funny when I heard it. Rockstar has officially announced, we've been hearing noise about Grand Theft Auto 6 for years. And every time this is going to be the year, it's not this year. And earlier this year, Rockstar was like, this is it, 2025, GTA 6, here it comes. Well, they lied. GTA 6 is now slated to release on May 2026. And
Oh,
like I posted, by the time this game comes out, it will be retro. From all the years of announcing
oh,
that this game is
jeez.
coming out. I mean, we are literally on GTA 5 has now been on three console generations. It started on the PS3 and the Xbox 360. And
Why
then it
the hold
moved.
up?
Yeah, development time. They're I don't know if they're trying to build like the biggest game in the world or what, but they just keep pushing it back. Now it looks like May 2026. The rumors are already coming out that the game is going to be $100 when it comes out. So
Whoa.
yeah. The other bit of news, which this was kind of funny. I don't know if you saw this. Nintendo's coming out with the Switch 2, right?
Yes. Hmm.
Okay. So it's coming out June 5th. But they dropped a really fun commercial a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if you remember this or not, but for when the Super Nintendo first came out, there was a commercial. There was an American commercial done with this young guy walking up to like from behind, I think he had like a carnival or something behind him, walking up to play the Super Nintendo and everything like that. And it turns out that the guy who's in that commercial was Paul Rudd before anybody knew who Paul Rudd was.
Yeah, I do remember. Yes.
Yeah. So as part of their commercial campaign for the Switch 2, they brought Paul Rudd back and recreated that commercial. And it was just such a clever thing to do.
No way.
Yeah, you gotta watch it online. It's really, really fun. And Paul Rudd is just being Paul Rudd. And it's so funny. And again, like I said, a very smart thing for Nintendo to do, to just bring that back. It was really, really well done. I'm still not sold on the Switch 2 myself. I'm not gonna buy it day one. I'm gonna wait. But I just thought, yeah, just a cool way to bring that back. Sticking with the commercial kind of thing, but moving on to movies. And this was recently announced about a week or so ago, and you'll get a kick out of this. But they are going to be creating a media company called Story Kitchen, who worked on the first Sonic the Hedgehog movie. They are working on a Toys R Us movie. I have no idea what it's going to be about. Yeah, there's going to be a movie about Toys R Us. And they're comparing it to Ben Stiller's Night at the Museum, Jumanji, and Back to the Future. No,
good grief.
That runs a gamut. But I'll only enjoy it if somebody in a Jeffrey costume comes out and like beats up a kid or something. we need some like humor in there.
You said Back to the Future?
Yeah, back to they said Back to the Future, Jumanji, and Night at the Museum. So some type of crazy with that. And the reason why I bring it up on this show is I want to see an aisle of video games with those paper slips that you used to get when you were buying a game.
Yes.
I need to revisit that again. I need that dose of nostalgia. I think that would be really awesome. I just have to bring up this bit of information because Nintendo announced that or at least the news came out, I think yesterday, that on the Nintendo Switch, you can purchase the Star Wars Grand Collection, which includes 9 Star Wars video games. So its retail price is $139.99, so $140. You get 9 games. And the games are Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy, Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast, Republic Commando, Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, the Star Wars The Force Unleashed, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2, Star Wars Bounty Hunter, and Star Wars Episode 1 Jedi Power Battles. That is a solid library for any Star Wars fan. You know,
that's pretty diehard.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what I've been meaning to ask you, speaking of Star Wars?
Yeah.
You remember a long time ago when, we lived in Brooklyn and you used to go out to, like, I don't know if you recall going to Chuck E. Cheese or not, by where Caesar's Bay Bazaar is, right?
Of course.
There was a Star Wars game in there. You actually sit in it and you're controlling, I believe, one of the, I forgot which machine you're controlling, but there's this one scene where it's a long corridor that you're going down on, and at the very end, you have to shoot the Death Star, I believe.
Yeah, they recreate the movie where you're trying to blow up the Death Star.
What was that game called? Can I ask you?
Star Wars the arcade game.
It was just called Star Wars the arcade game. Okay.
Yeah.
I was dreaming about that the other day, and I would love to have that come back somehow.
Well, Arcade 1-Up did a Star Wars arcade game replica. And it wasn't like a sit-in version, but it had like the yoke controller.
So you
can pilot the X-Wing and stuff. Yeah. Really, really cool. I thought you were going to bring up the Star Wars trilogy arcade game that came out, which basically had moments from the movies, from all 3 movies.
Yes.
And the Death Star one was obviously a big part of that. But yeah, no, the Star Wars game, you can actually purchase an arcade 1-Up if you want to, if it's still, I don't know if they're still making them. The Retro Gamers Podcast is brought to you by Old School Gamer Magazine. Sign up for as little as $20 per year for 6 issues that include feature articles, interviews with retro programmers, new and old product reviews, and more. If you look carefully, you'll even see an article or two penned by yours truly. You can head over to oldschoolgamermagazine.com/retrogamerspodcast and sign up so they know where you heard about it. Old School Gamer is dedicated to you, the old school retro gamers from the arcades to your home. And now we're ready to get to our topic. And we went back, and now we went back and forth. For a few days trying to figure out what's a good topic to play with. And we talked about a few different things, and it kind of led us in this direction. And so what we're talking about today are console mascots. But with a spin, because remember I said earlier, this was going to be a subjective episode. So what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about alternate console mascots for the major video game companies. And so like we all know like who the major ones are. Like, big surprise, Nintendo's mascot, like when you say Nintendo, it's Mario, right? Mario first and foremost. Right. But let's say we're going to play the game of, let's say Mario didn't exist or Mario wasn't the be all end all, so on and so forth for each of these companies. Who else is there to step into that mascot position to best represent the company? Now, Ant, I know you did you had to do a little bit of research on this one, right?
Yeah, there were some consoles that I think I think that, or some companies I would say to you that I had to really give it thought.
Yeah.
So I had to do some research on this one. It took me a few days, but I think I've narrowed it down. Some of my answers it may come out of left field, but I really, really would love to engage the audience who's listening to this. If you think that my answer is, and now before we get into this, I don't know what your responses are going to be. You don't know what mine are going to be. This is 100%, like we're hearing it, in live time. But if I come up with, now, obviously, I've always felt that my knowledge is not as great as yours when it comes to retro gaming. I know my way around it to a degree. If I do give an answer that you think is ridiculous, or if anybody, who's listening, I encourage the fans of the Retro Gamers podcast to, if you think it's a ridiculous, person, well, obviously, we all have our opinions, right? Yeah. But tell me why you think it's ridiculous. And then also at the same time, I encourage everyone and I urge you to tell us, in a comment section below, or tell us, in a way, who do you think should be the mascot? If we didn't mention somebody, like I love seeing fans' reactions. I love seeing listeners' reactions, and you guys and gals out there engaging. Awesome. I love it. I really, it's just really cool to see people engage, because I like to hear people's thoughts. And a lot of the fans that you have, your fan base, you could tell are very diehard. They're very knowledgeable, and I learn things, from them. So please give us your input for sure.
Yeah. Nope. You took the words right out of my mouth. I love fan engagement. I love talking to people, or, messaging back and forth with them about, their thoughts on the show and on our topics and stuff. So yes, everything Anthony said was spot on, except for one thing. There are no ridiculous answers, Ant, and I'll tell you why. This is completely subjective. So this is who you think would be the best fit
Sure.
as an alternate mascot. Same way it's going to be with me. So, so I don't want you to think that any of your answers are ridiculous, because you'll have a point of view to it, and that will, and I think that will validate it just fine.
Okay.
All right. And with that, let's get started.
Finding a new job is stressful, but with Indeed, it doesn't have to be. Just fill out your Indeed profile with your skills, experience, and desired salary. The more you fill out, the better your matches will be. And hearing from hiring managers will be 2 times more likely. Relax. That's your Indeed profile sending opportunities your way. Indeed, the world can work better.
So at the end of the day, we've got 5 major companies that we're focusing on. And the first one we're going with is going to be Atari.
Okay.
So in my opinion, Atari has never had an official character mascot. Like
Yes.
they never really declared anybody. There was nothing that ever stood out to be like, okay, this is the official guy. So when you think now doing some research, I definitely found some that I think could fall into that category. But I want to start with you since you're the guest host. All right.
Okay.
So I want you to start the box
All
because
right.
I have a few. I have like five or six. One, two, three,
So,
four, five. I have five. I have five
okay.
on my list.
So
But
all eyes and ears on me first. Okay.
yeah, so what'd you get?
Now, if you Google who is the mascot, or who is considered a mascot of Atari,
Yep.
you're gonna find Bentley Bear.
Bentley Bear is the first one on my list. Yeah, he
And
is the
so
closest. Yes.
initially, I'm like, who?
Hmm.
Because I've never heard of Bentley Bear. Now, bear in mind, this is no pun intended. Um, that Atari came out during a time when I was just in infancy.
Hmm.
I'm a 76 baby,
Yep.
right? So Atari came out when officially in.
I mean, Atari started putting out consoles around that time, actually. I mean,
Okay.
yeah.
So, really by the time I started gaming, Atari was still there, but it kind of started going down. I started gaming in around 1982.
Yeah, so right before the crash.
Hmm. Right. So my exposure to them was not as huge. Um, for me personally, if you don't say Bentley Bear, I still don't know who that is.
Well, I
You
can
know,
answer that. I can answer that for you.
please, please.
Bentley Bear is the main character in Crystal Castles. Do you remember the Crystal Castles game? It was an isometric viewed game, and you were a little bear, and you had to go up and down the levels to collect the little, I don't know if they were diamonds or whatever, the little jewels or dots that were on the board. And while you were collecting them, there were these monsters that were coming around the board, trying to get you. And it was a very
What
well
do you
known it was a very well known game in the arcade, and then it got transferred over to console.
what did he look like?
He looked like a bear. He was a brown bear, but he had a red hat on his head.
Red hat, brown bear, red hat.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna take a stab in the dark. You remember the game? I remember the movie Wreck-It Ralph.
Yes.
Did he make a cameo in that?
He did cameo in that. Yes.
Short, very short cameo,
A
right?
very short cameo. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Then wasn't that the same character that was in Atari Carts?
Yes. Yes. I was gonna say.
Oh
Yeah.
no, okay. Now I
Yeah.
know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So
Now I get it. Okay, so yeah, so that's who Bentley Bear is. I was like watching Wreck-It Ralph, and I'm just like, huh, okay, not really knowing that that was Bentley Bear.
yeah. Yeah. So Bentley Bear has not shown up in a lot
Age,
of yeah, he's
probably
not
age
shown up.
catching up with me.
No, no, it's actually even remembering Atari carts is a good pull because that was on I think that was on the Jaguar.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
and the Jaguar wasn't a very popular system. But Bentley Bear, outside of those two games, he was in Crystal Castles, he was in Atari carts, he was also in a good number. I don't remember if it was like six or seven educational games. It's funny because Bentley Bear first got mentioned on the show last episode, episode 409, because
Mhm.
my friend John and I were talking about edutainment games, games with educational value.
Yes,
And he
yes.
brought up Bentley Bear because there was a series of educational games for kids that Atari put out, and Bentley Bear was the character in it. So,
Mhm.
um, so Bentley Bear basically kind of sort of could have been the Atari mascot if they had taken advantage of that and actually like declared one, I think. But
Right.
they never really did. Now,
Mm.
he also they had brought but they did bring him back recently. I think there's a game called Crystal Quest, which is kind of like, a play on Crystal Castles.
Mhm.
So So there's always an opportunity for them to christen Bentley Bear
Mhm,
their mascot, but they've never really
mhm.
officially had one. But he's a good
Right,
choice. He's probably
right.
the best choice that they have.
I would say if not Bentley Bear, the
Mhm.
only two others I can really think of that, at least to me, and when my cousins who are older than me had the Atari console, they were playing it. Uh Frogger,
Okay, Frogger's a good choice.
okay. Because Frogger's just recognizable. Plus, also there was I remember when they had computer class in elementary school back in the early to mid 80s,
Hmm.
there was a game that resembled Frogger, but it was for edutainment purposes,
Okay.
you know, where you had to, I think you had to count the amount of skips without him falling into the pond, that you had to skip the leaves.
Okay.
It was just it was help it they the teacher believed in helping students with mathematics,
Hmm.
as well as predictability, probability, by engaging you into computer games. The other person, so Frogger, I think is very recognizable, for a lot of the
Absolutely.
old school retro gaming, fans. Pitfall Harry.
Pitfall Harry's a good choice.
And I was thinking of Pitfall Harry because I read an article about him about a year ago, and I said, that's a name that has kind of fell out. I know I can't say it fell out of favor, but it's not as recognizable as a Bentley Bear or a
No.
Frogger, but he is certainly uh very prevalent,
Yeah.
amongst the system, you know.
Oh yeah, Pitfall
Uh,
was one of my favorite games on the Atari.
yeah.
Yeah, and those are those are both Frogger and Pitfall Harry are good choices. I can definitely see those happening.
Mhm,
Um, the thing, what I wound up doing when I was researching, because I always like to throw an extra set of difficulty with myself when I'm doing these things, was I tried to go after characters that Atari owns. So in other words, Atari-based games, not licensed games.
okay.
So and not saying there isn't anything wrong with going after a licensed character. They would just have to license them. And again, this is all subjective. And I think you named two really good ones. But when I came up with my list, I was like, okay, what does Atari own that they can very easily slide into that
Mhm,
that mascot category? And Bentley Bear is one of them. Bentley Bear is their character.
mhm,
Um, one of the ones that I came up with, and this isn't one that again, like I'm pretty confident nobody is really gonna agree with me on, but I
mhm,
had to play this one up because there's a little bit of a story involved with it for me. But the character's name is Martin Champion, also known as Commander Champion, and he was part of a comic book series that Atari put out called the Atari Force. And I collected that comic book series when I was a kid, and I loved reading Atari Force. And then
mm,
later I found out, and they were like a Star Trek kind of series,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
But then I later found out that Martin Champion was actually in three video games. So they had Commander Champion in these. He was in the Space Riders pinball machine
Mhm,
that came out. There was a game called Liberator. It was an arcade game that they also used Commander Champion in. And then
mm,
on the Atari 800, 5200, and ST, there was a game called Star Raiders, and Martin Champion was the pilot in that space game. So Atari used this character a lot,
yeah.
or a good amount back in the 80s. And like I said, he was the commander of the Atari Force, right? Which was the comic book I read. So I thought he would be an interesting choice for an Atari mascot, especially with the whole, the 80s. To me, like the 80s, the 70s and 80s really became big on space exploration, science
Yes.
fiction
Mhm,
started to boom and all that stuff. And I'm like, oh, what a perfect character to kind of slide into that role. And now, granted, 40 years later, would he still be a relevant character to be their mascot? I don't know. But I just thought he would be an interesting choice.
yeah. Um, Now let me ask you this. In terms of like, because I'm looking at some of my liner notes here. Um, a mascot, does it have to be a character or can it be a thing? Can it be something that, like, let's say,
Doesn't have to be a
uh,
character.
does it have to be a character? Okay.
No.
You know what an honorable mention for me would be?
What you
I,
got?
I remember every time going to the arcade and then at home, playing pole position.
Oh yeah.
The
Great game.
car from the red car from pole position, I think was rather symbolic.
Hmm.
Even though it's not a character per se, I think it's a very recognizable old school retro gaming. You know, uh, I guess you could say, God, I can't even say. I'm trying not to say prop here, but
Yeah.
like it's a very recognizable. I guess
Icon, element.
yeah, element, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
icon that people, real ones who know, who've been to the arcade, who have it at home, they know what pole position is.
of
It's one of
course.
the very first racing games that ever came out for any console, right?
Hmm.
So I think that that was very recognizable. I think the pole position um logo
Yeah.
itself is very recognizable. But I think that that car, I used to love that game. That was the first game I would always go play if I was in an arcade and I could find it. It's the first one.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you there. It does, yeah, like I said, it doesn't necessarily have to be like a character, like a person or an
Mhm.
anthropomorphic animal or something like that. Um, so yeah, I think an icon like that works. Especially because like I can counter your car from pole position with another thing.
Okay.
That is not definitely not a person.
Okay.
Um, but one of the ones that I came up with was, do you remember the game Haunted House on
Yes,
Atari?
I do.
And do
I
you
do remember
remember
that.
when the character that the thing that you controlled in the game was just a pair of eyes because you were walking around in the dark? And I was like, you know
Yeah.
what? I'm like, those eyes are so memorable to me and so iconic, and people know that, know when you say haunted house on the Atari, like you immediately know about those eyes. I
Right.
actually think that that would be a cool option for Atari. Just those eyes, those very simple eyes
Mm.
that were in the haunted
Mm.
house game. I just thought that would be a trip. I want to jump that we went to the earliest company. I
Mhm.
want to jump down to the most recent company we have on the list,
Okay.
and then we'll go in between
Sure.
for what I call what
Sure.
I
Sure.
what I call the bigger three. But let's go to Microsoft next. I know we're jumping all the way down to the 2000s, when the Xbox came out, and then we've gotten the Xbox 360, the Xbox One, the Series X since then. So more recent in terms of history, but still jumping back to they've had some memorable characters on Microsoft. This one was tougher. I will say this was the toughest one for me to find. Um,
Microsoft?
yeah, to find some characters that would work in the Xbox
Mm.
world
Hmm.
that translated. Although obviously the one obvious one is who they currently consider, and there's no mystery behind this one. It's Master Chief from the Halo series. Like if you have to pick, that's their mascot. Like Master
Master
Chief,
Chief Petty Officer John Dash 117.
whatever, yeah, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
I was never a Halo fan. I know I'm in the minority there. I was never a Halo fan.
My nephews love it. My nephew loves it.
Mhm.
I've never really. I do know though. I do have to give it credit that when before Master Chief came, Xbox was there, yes, right. But after Halo really blew up huge, that's when I think that that character really, really put that company on the map.
Mm. Yeah,
I mean, really put that company on the map. Because first of all, nobody's ever seen a game like Halo before. That was ridiculous.
yeah,
I'm not a fan. I played it a couple times. I'm not a huge fan of it. I don't go buy every one of them at no. But from what I've seen of the gameplay and just I can understand why people have never had intense shoot 'em up video games like that before.
yeah.
You know.
No, and I'm the same way. I'm not a big shoot 'em up person. Um, but Master Chief, I think Halo 2 is what
Mhm.
really cemented him, because when you talk, at least everybody I talk to, all my friends and everybody who
Yeah.
love Halo, always go back and point to Halo 2. They're like, Halo 2 is the best, the best, the best. And I'm like, okay. I was like, that's awesome. I'm like, but Master Chief has definitely been the staple for the Xbox franchise.
Mm,
So that would be who their current person was. But if we take Master Chief away, who's out there? And this one, like I said, this was a tougher one on my end because remember what I said. I was trying to go for characters that are first party, that they already have the rights to. And then as honorable mentions, I came up with a couple of licensed mascots. But
okay.
okay, so on Xbox, where do you
Uh,
start?
I would say on Xbox, going by my notes here, I would say to you that if you've never played this game before, shame on you, because it's based on my all-time favorite horror movie of all time. Even though they say that has nothing to do with it, and I think, and by going by your expression, I think you know where I'm going to go with this.
I know where you're going.
Dead Rising,
Yep.
uh, Frank West, would have been a rather interesting, really off the cuff type character.
Yep.
Because I love that game, Dead Rising. I love it. I could play it for hours on end. I spent several nights playing it throughout the entire night.
Mhm.
As you play it with the lights off, it gets creepier and creepier. And it's just nobody's ever seen that kind of gore in a game before.
Yeah.
Uh, until you know
Dead
that
Rising.
game was one of the first ones that really showed that extreme gore, right?
Hmm.
Plus, it's also based off of my favorite movie, which is the 1978 version of Dawn of the Dead.
I was about to bring that
Um,
up, and that
mhm.
we both have a special place in our hearts for that movie.
I love, yeah, we
How many times did we
absolutely
watch
love
that?
that movie. We've watched it so many times to the point where I've lost count. I've
Yeah.
lost count. I love that movie, you know? Um, so I would say Frank West is one of them.
Okay. I was gonna
Another,
before you move on to
yeah,
Dead Rising, I will say Dead Rising is such a good game. It's such a fun game, and the sequel is as well. The only thing, my one gripe with Dead Rising is how the zombies get into the mall
mm,
with that stupid old woman chasing after her dog. Like that was the only thing where I'm just like, okay. I was like, dose of reality here. Um, I
yeah,
would have rather seen that woman get shot in the head than open those doors
agreed,
because of her dog.
agreed. It's so because of one person, they ruin it for everybody.
Yes.
That's nice, you know?
But such is life in those types of movies, right?
Yeah,
Somebody
definitely.
makes a stupid mistake and here come the zombies, here comes the horde.
Yep, it's
Um,
always got to be one.
all right, so
Um,
so I'll buy Frank West. I think Frank West is a good choice.
mhm,
Okay, so on my list, I have some very interesting ones because again, first party wise was a little difficult. It was a
yeah,
little difficult to kind of um, stay in that box, so to speak. And the first one that I have probably isn't that well known, but I love the look of the character. And again, when I'm thinking face of a, like the face of a company or a video game
right.
franchise or something like that, some it's a character that can like kind of transition along with the times. And this character always had an interesting look for me. And the name of the game, the character's name is Blinks, Blinx. And the name of the game was Blinks the Time Sweeper. It was an action platformer that came out in 2002. Again, there's a little bit of bias on my part. The character is an anthropomorphic cat. So,
What?
and you know me about cats. Yeah, you play. He's a cat, but he's a cat on two legs. He walk.
I've never heard of this.
Yeah. It's an action platformer game, and Blinks is on a mission to prevent the end of the end of world B1Q64. I'm getting this off of Wikipedia, and rescue the princess from the evil Tom Tom gang, which I find funny. Tomcats. So I thought, and interesting, actually, they say here in this, they mention it in the Wikipedia article. Blinks was intended to be a mascot character from Microsoft to compete with Nintendo, Sega, and Sony. So he did get a sequel, Blinks 2 Masters of Time and Space, which was released in 2004. But then after that, he kind of just disappeared. Maybe he got lost in time. I don't know. But what he can do is, that was the other cool thing. What he can do is he carried around with him a TS-1000 vacuum cleaner, and the vacuum cleaner could slow, speed up, record, reverse, and stop time. So he was, that's what he had. He had time controls. So first off, reading about this game, again, same with me. I've never played this game, but the minute I saw the character, I thought Mascot. Like when you look at a picture of the character, it screams Mascot to me. And now I want to get a copy of this game so I can play it.
Okay.
Yeah, because this is what, this is what's cool about, like, what I love about this show, what I always love about this show is that when I'm doing my research for whatever topic we're covering, I'll almost always run across a game I have not heard of and have never played that I want to. And this, from all my research I did today, this is the game for me. Like, I will look for a copy of Blinks now just so I can play it.
Wow. Okay.
But the character, yeah, but again, if you look at the character just looks cool. I think they were right that he could have been their mascot had they really dove in deep on it, but it could have also been like maybe sales didn't do well or something like that. So they just kind of moved on from it. I will say, yes, the sales did not do well. They sold 600,000 copies worldwide. So they thought they were going to do better than that. They did not. So that was kind of unfortunate. So that was that guy. The other, did you have any other ones? Or
no, I couldn't think of any more.
No, that's fine. That's fine. So the second one that I have, again, this was a series on Xbox that did really, really well. They had 3 different versions of it. The issue with the character, though, is that the character doesn't appear necessarily in all. It doesn't appear in all 3 games, but this is an RPG I'm sorry, is an action RPG called Fable. Have you ever heard of the game Fable?
Yes, I have. I've never played it, but I've heard of it. Yes.
Yeah. I have all 3 copies of the game. I've yet to play any of them. But the reviews for the games have always been really, really solid. And I thought the boy in the first Fable game would have been a good option for a mascot also. Because obviously very synonymous with the first game. It did so well that they made 2 sequels. Again, different stories. Very interesting thing about this series too. One of the composers for the game that did the music was Danny Elfman, which I thought was really cool.
Really?
Yep.
Oh.
And the game was originally developed by Lionhead Studios. But then that studio closed, and then Xbox Game Studios has been publishing it since. So it's in the Xbox library. So I thought maybe looking to Fable would be an option. And even if it wasn't the first one, like, well, it could have been, it could be the main character from the second or the third one. Either way, I think Fable would be a nice game to farm. And then jumping over to another company that Xbox acquired. Xbox actually owns now the Rare, the company Rare?
Yes.
Okay. So they own the company Rare. And so I went into the Rare catalog to see who I could find. And I found 3 interesting options. The first one was Kuros and you know this game. You may not know the name of the character. Kuros is the main character in Wizards and Warriors from the NES. Do you remember the Wizards and Warriors games?
Oh, yeah, long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah, a long time ago, but they made multiple games. They made at least 3 of those games, Wizards and Warriors. And I thought there's an interesting one, albeit, you're going a bit medieval with your character and whatnot. But I just thought a really cool fantasy mascot could be Kuros from Wizards and Warriors. Also in Rare's catalog, very, very popular game that succeeded GoldenEye. Same company, Rare was so successful with GoldenEye that they followed it up with an original concept, but with a similar game style, which was Perfect Dark. And the character
Perfect Dark.
And the character in that, Joanna Dark, I think would also be a good option for Microsoft.
I think so. Yeah.
And then the last one, which is my favorite one because this game on the N64 was so much fun because it was probably one of the only games on the N64 that really had an adult oriented theme and character to it. That was developed by Rare, but now Microsoft owns the rights to him. And I'm talking about Conker from Conker's Bad Fur Day. Conker is a squirrel who wakes up with a hangover in the first game. And then and then you go through, it's an action platformer game, but he is a very crude character. He actually he curses in the game. They have bubbles with the curse words and stuff like that. Like he is a very rude character. And I just think with that type of attitude, I think would rival like a Sonic the Hedgehog so well. And since Microsoft has the rights to him now, I thought that would be a really fun choice for him.
Is this the same as the 95 game Command and Conquer? Or no?
No. Conker is spelled Conker. He's a squirrel.
Okay.
He is a foul-mouthed squirrel, a foul-mouthed alcoholic squirrel.
Oh, jeez.
And I just thought, granted, obviously that wouldn't translate very well to a younger audience, but this is Xbox we're talking about. I'm like, you want to go with somebody with attitude? I don't think you get that much more attitude than Conker. So
I'm seeing what he looks like right now, right? He don't look drunk, my friend.
No.
He looks like he's wide awake on something.
Oh, well, you know what? I think you can go the other direction with that one, of course.
Yeah.
USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks, or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Visit USAA.com/bundle.
Bundle savings are off total premium, not available in all states or in all situations. To qualify, auto policy must be active prior to property policy issue, subject to change. Restrictions apply. Membership eligibility and product restrictions apply and are subject to change. USAA means United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates, San Antonio, Texas.
The new McCrispy Strip is here. Dip approved by ketchup, tangy barbecue, honey mustard, Sprite, McFlurry, Big Mac sauce, double dipped in buffalo and ranch, more ranch, and creamy chili McCrispy Strip Dip. Now at McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Okay, so that closes off Microsoft.
Okay.
All right, let's move on to. I'm trying not to go in order, but I also don't want to. I don't want to end on the obvious one, which will be Nintendo.
I go where you want to go. So,
yeah. All right, so let's go to Nintendo. Let's get Nintendo out of the way right here.
Oh, okay.
So we all know everyone's favorite plumber Mario is the be-all end-all of the Nintendo universe. You talk Nintendo, everybody goes Mario. But what if you could not choose Mario? If Mario wasn't there, if the plumber did not survive the original Donkey Kong game, he never made it out of Donkey Kong. Where do we go? Who do we go with? And
Okay. So you said it for me right then and there. Donkey Kong.
He's the first one. He's the first one on my list too.
He's an original.
Yep.
I mean, the character is so iconic. Good guy, bad guy. I don't care how you want to look at him.
Yep.
His character, his appearance is probably, it can almost level up to Mario.
Mm-hmm.
In many ways as well, right? I mean, your fans don't need, or any fans of any retro gaming world don't need an intro as to who he is.
No.
I mean, that's how iconic he is, right? If not even Donkey Kong, I have a few. I would say Zelda is another one.
Well, what do you mean when you say Zelda? Do you mean Zelda, Princess Zelda?
Princess Zelda.
Okay.
I certainly would say is iconic.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't not know who she is if you're a retro gaming fan, right?
Of course.
I cannot say. I want to say Yoshi.
Yoshi's a good choice.
I don't think that he was okay. I could be completely wrong, and please give me your comments on this one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he was as popular in America as he was in Japan.
I don't know. I
Am I
mean,
wrong? You traveled east more than I have,
well, I
so
was
I
gonna
mean,
say he's pretty popular wherever I go. So
you think so?
yeah, I
Okay.
think so. I think Yoshi would be a good choice.
Hmm.
Mostly because also once they introduced Yoshi's Island and you knew that there were a multitude of Yoshis,
Yes.
I mean, you can take advantage of that all over and
Right.
they do. You know, you have yellow, you have blue Yoshis and purple Yoshis and pink Yoshis. It's not just the
Mhm.
overall green Yoshi, but obviously the green one is the iconic one.
Another one that comes to mind is Mega Man.
Oh yeah, Mega Man for sure.
Mega
Again,
Man,
licensed character from
right?
Capcom, but still
Cool
Mega
look.
Man.
You know
Yep.
what I mean? Mega Man is definitely recognizable. I mean, you cannot go through the NES console and not played that game, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
and learn just how hard a game can be. Those Mega Man games were no joke.
you know, back in the day, there weren't many people who got angry and threw their controllers, but that was like one of the first times where I've actually thought about it. I was not happy with it. You know, it was a very difficult game to play. Another. Uh, this is not even a single character; it's a duo. The duo that's supposed to look like Schwarzenegger and Stallone from Contra.
Oh yeah.
The two
Mhm.
soldiers.
Yep.
I think they were pretty recognizable. I mean, I don't know how big Contra was back in the day, but I mean, this whole, 30 lives cheat code,
The
everybody,
Konami code, of
knew
course.
about, right? It was a very iconic game. I thought two and three and whatever else they made of it afterwards
Yep.
was horrible.
Super
I
C,
didn't like
Contra
any of it.
Hardcore. There's
But
so
the
many.
original Contra,
Yep.
those two characters were iconic, I
Okay.
think.
Yep.
I think they
I
were
am
very
I
maybe not
understand.
iconic, maybe not iconic, but recognizable.
Just recognizable. Yeah, I totally get that. My thinking behind those guys though would be like because it's like military based. Like I get how that works so well for a company like Xbox. I don't know if like just knowing Nintendo as a company, I don't know if they would go that hardcore towards like on a military. That's just
They
my
would
thought
not.
behind it.
They would
Yeah.
not. But also they when Contra came out, you had a lot of movies that dealt with military soldier guys blasting guns and blah blah blah. So I think they
Rambo,
kind of capitalized.
Commando,
Oh
just
yeah.
yeah,
I mean
all of
they
those.
capitalized on a lot of that.
Yeah. Oh, no
Um
question about that.
My last one is a surprising one, and this is the one where I'm curious to know what the fans would think about this.
Okay.
You ready?
Yep.
Drum roll, Little Mac
Little Mac's a good choice. I
from
like
Mike
Little
Tyson's
Mac.
Punch Out.
Yep. Well, Little Mac has also shown up in the Super Smash Brothers series.
Right.
Yeah.
I love Mike Tyson's Punch Out. I would say that that definitely goes in my top 10 all-time favorite retro game.
Such a great one. Such a great one.
Everyone loves an underdog, you know,
Mhm.
everyone loves the underdog story. Because he's taking on these these titans of the sport that are guys who are massive.
Mhm.
And you have this little guy who's beating up the big guy. For a lot of bullies, kids who were bullied at the time, Little Mac was somebody that they, looked up to. Also, I mean, if you look at even today, the relevance of Little Mac, all these people like on social media and Facebook are coming up with these 8-bit memes,
Yep.
of taking the graphics, the look, the
Yep.
everything. They did one on Rocky. They did one on several, of
Well,
these.
I'm gonna stop you for a second. Speaking of, literally this morning, I saw somebody sent me a video. It's it's Rocky 4, the
uh
end of Rocky 4 when he fights Ivan Drago,
Drago, yeah.
but they put the Mike Tyson's Punch Out music to the boxing sequence. It is amazing. Absolutely amazing. I'll send you the video. You have to see it. It's so good.
Mhm. Yeah, but I think that little Mac is just one of those characters, or Doc, right? I
Yep,
mean,
Doc
do
too.
you include Doc with Little Mac, or do you put Little Mac alone?
I think you can put them together. I think that works good.
I think they go hand in hand,
Yep.
Doc, I've seen one where was it? It was Stan and Chef, where
Yep.
somebody did an 8-bit of that,
Oh, that's
which
funny.
so that I thought that was pretty
From South
funny.
Park.
From
Yeah, I
South
don't.
Park.
Yeah, I don't. I can see Little Mac. Little Mac. That's a good argument for Little Mac.
Mm,
I don't think that one is as far. In fact, I can definitely see, I can see Little Mac more than I can see the guys from Contra.
mm.
So
And of course, if Nintendo ever wanted to go full blown bad guy, you do have Wario,
you do have Wario. Wario is a good one.
right? I
Um,
mean,
but
so
I don't think they would go full
too.
on. Yeah, I don't think they'd go full on bad guy.
Yeah. Luigi.
Well, Luigi, obviously. I was kind of stepping away from the Mario
Yeah.
characters
But
to see
I'm
where I could
saying
find.
but I would say the ones I mentioned I felt stood out to me the most.
Yeah. Well, and that's fair. And like you said, Nintendo's got such a deep library of characters that you can pull from. Even first party, they have so many first party characters.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so the only one that you had on your list that I had on mine was Donkey Kong. Everybody else I have is different,
Really?
which is interesting. Yes.
I got to hear this one now.
So the other ones that I have, and the first one I want to mention is Fox McCloud from Star Fox.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
I think that character has mascot written all over him. You've got the sci-fi space theme to it. He looks like a really cool character. He carries himself like a cool character. He's got a little bit of an edge to him. And
Mm,
I think that he is appealing across all ages.
mm.
Like, because Fox McCloud is your I want to say he's almost like a mix of Han Solo and Luke Skywalker. Like if you fuse them together a little bit, I think you get like a Fox
I
McCloud
could see
character.
that. I could definitely see that. Yes.
So I think he would carry the banner of Nintendo really well. Like he already does, but I'm saying like as the premier mascot for Nintendo. I think Fox McCloud's a good choice.
Mm.
Um, Another one that I had, which you did not mention, but he's been around since I want to say the late 80s. And he still has games coming out today. One just came out on the Switch, but Kirby, the little pink
Kirby.
puffball, the little
Yeah.
pink puffball that eats
Yeah.
things.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Like he is absolutely adorable, but because he can eat stuff and transform into anything he wants. Perfect situation for a mascot, right? You can
Mm,
dress him up and make him anything. Um, that he would just be a good representation of Nintendo. Not to mention the fact that he was named after one of Nintendo's lawyers, who helped them win that infamous lawsuit with Universal Studios over Donkey Kong.
mm,
They named Kirby after the lawyer, which is kind of
mm.
cool. Um, the next one I had on the list, and I'm actually surprised you didn't bring this one up because one of the other like when outside of Mario, I think the biggest franchise in the Nintendo universe is Pokemon. Pokemon is huge. So Pikachu to me would just be a no-brainer.
Yeah, but see, I mentioned Pikachu, and I love Pikachu, but I always thought that Pikachu was more modern. I think of him as a more modern character,
Yeah, but
where,
he's been around for over 25 years.
yeah, but you didn't have Pikachu in the 80s, you
No,
know?
you didn't have him in the but you didn't have like Fox McCloud wasn't in the 80s either. He was in
Right,
the early
right. I
90s.
get that. But I'm
Yeah.
saying like in for Nintendo, okay, I can see that. I've always looked at Pikachu and I've always looked at Pokemon as cards, as you know, coins, cards, you know, really not so
Yeah.
show. I never really like to be 100% transparent. I never really look at Pikachu being in a having an affiliation with a gaming system.
Yeah. Well, you know what it is too, Ant? Like I think we were a bit outside of the age range when that started.
Yeah, exactly.
And I just
Exactly.
yeah, and I was gonna say, like, I don't think we got into like to this day, I haven't played a traditional Pokemon game. I've played like spin-off games like Pokemon Puzzle League, Pokemon
Neither have
Snap,
I. Yeah.
Pokemon Stadium, but I've never played a traditional Pokemon like red, blue, yellow, Gold, Silver, all of all of those ones that came out. I've never played.
Mean, and we grew up with Pogs.
Oh God,
Okay.
Pogs.
So I mean,
I remember Pogs.
this is how far back
Yeah.
we've gone, where we played with Pogs back in the day. I mean,
Yeah.
but yeah, you're right. The whole Pokemon, Digimon world didn't really fall under, our world growing up.
No, it
But
definitely
don't get
did
me wrong.
not.
I agree with you. I do agree with you. If you really, really want to look at it and you put it into that perspective, I can see Pikachu as
Yeah.
someone who, Nintendo has certainly brought up huge. Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, I do think that he can still fit that mold. And then the other one I'll throw out, you mentioned Princess Zelda. Now this one,
Mhm.
it's funny. I did not want to put him on the list, and I'll tell you why. Link from The Legend of Zelda, obviously, he's been around since 86. So he's been around for a very long time. And I think he could be a mascot for Nintendo. The reason why I was hesitant to really put him on my list is because I was trying to imagine how his character would morph along the way as a mascot.
Mhm.
And that's where I was struggling with him, because he's one of the only characters he's like a character in the Nintendo universe who never talks. And that's by design. Like Mario talks, you hear Mario say, a few words here and there, but at least it's enough to kind of carry him on. Link has always been silent. He has never uttered a single word in any of Nintendo's video games, and I'm not including the crappy ones that came out on the Philips CDI. Those don't count.
Okay.
But
Fair enough.
so Link to me is kind of like a borderline one. I don't know if he would work flat out as a mascot, but I feel like just for the longevity, like he should be considered.
Do you know why I didn't put Link on there?
Why?
You're about to get, you may have some people who may want to start a campaign to never bring me back on the show again
Oh no,
after
what do
I
you
tell
mean?
you this,
I
because
may never want to bring you back. Zelda's my
okay, well
favorite
then that
game.
makes it even easier at that point. This is gonna probably start something as similar as VB sucks.
Start a war. Go for it.
I don't like Legend of Zelda.
Oh,
I've
I knew
never been a fan of it.
I knew you were
I
going to
know
say
the
that.
characters. God bless the people who like the game, who know I know who the characters are. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
folks. I
All right.
just never been a fan of it.
All right,
And
we're
by
gonna,
the
that's
way,
it. This
this is
episode's
not
over.
based. Oh, geez. This is not based upon an assumption. This is based upon experience.
Yep.
I bought the game back in the day. I just and believe it or not, I sold it to a classmate in 3 days or 4 days because
Wow.
I just felt, I sold it by the way for $10.
Oh my gosh.
I just I did not like the game. I just
And
felt it was kind
just
of
look
boring to
behind
me.
my head. Look at my look.
I know, I see it, and
Those are the
ah,
first two games
I know,
in
I
box
see.
complete.
But
Ah,
hey, like I say, God bless everybody who
and there's a
if
shield.
you
There's a
enjoy.
sword and shield right there behind my head.
Oh, geez, if you guys enjoy it, you guys and gals out there, you enjoy it, fans enjoy it. I'm not knocking you. I'm glad you have something that you like. I'm glad that it's just not for me.
Wow.
You know,
Okay. All right.
sorry.
We're gonna move on before this gets ugly.
Yeah, I know this is gonna get heated, man.
It's gonna get ugly. But all right, so and the last one I have, again, this was a licensed mascot, but another one where when you think Nintendo, I can't I can't not think of this character. And I'm talking about Simon Belmont from Castlevania.
Yes, yes,
I
Simon
mean,
Belmont,
again,
absolutely.
iconic, or just the Belmont clan in general, because it's been different Belmonts in certain games.
Mhm.
But Simon Belmont from Castlevania 1 and 2.
Yep.
Can't Yeah, I mean, those games are so amazing. And obviously, there've been so many games that have come out since then. I mean, granted it wasn't on Nintendo, but Symphony of the Night, which starred Alucard, was unbelievable. One of the best games ever made.
Right.
But you don't get any of that without Simon Belmont, and I think the Belmont clan could carry the mascot theme well across the board. And those are all the ones I had for Nintendo.
Mhm.
So
Right.
We've got 2 left.
Can I make one honorable mention?
Yeah, throw. What are you honorably mentioning?
Whatever the guy's name is, and I don't even know if he has an official name, but in the game Kung Fu, the hero.
You know what's funny? I thought about Kung Fu, and the other one I also thought about was Ninja Gaiden. Hayabusa from Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah, the ninja himself. I just don't know what his name is.
He's Hayabusa.
Hayabusa.
So Kung Fu, I'm looking it up right now just to see. Oh wait, no, I got Kung Fu the term. I need Kung Fu the video game. I want to see if this guy actually does have a name. I don't know if he is.
I've never heard of him. Maybe he does. I don't know.
I'm not sure. Let's see.
I know his girlfriend that he has to save has a name.
Oh yeah, was it like
Sylvia?
Sylvia, yes. I was about to say Alicia, but no, Sylvia.
I don't know if he has a name. I think he would make a pretty good mascot. He was pretty interesting.
He was interesting, and he's a good hero. But I'm wondering if he does oh, that's right. He does have a name. His name is Thomas.
Oh, Thomas.
Yeah, they mention it. They mention it in the game.
Oh, at the very end when you beat the guy.
Yeah,
you beat the mascot,
when you save Sylvia, she says, "Thank you, Thomas."
Man, I really am getting old. Damn it.
No. You know what? I forgot it too. I had to look it up online. But yeah, Thomas. She says, "Thank you, Thomas."
Yeah, Thomas is.
And then what happens? You start at the beginning, and she gets kidnapped again. She's
yeah. It's like she can never get out of trouble.
She can get out of trouble. That's Sylvia. You know, if I were Thomas, I would have moved on. But okay, no, that's worth mentioning.
Switch to Verizon Business and get more from your internet without paying more for your internet. Get LTE Business Internet starting at $39 a month when paired with select business mobile plans. That's unlimited data, and with it, unlimited possibilities. Start saving today with Verizon Business, ranked #1 in small business internet customer satisfaction by J.D. Power. Starting price for 25 megabits per second LTE internet plan with smartphone plan savings, plus taxes, fees, and economic adjustment charge. Terms apply. For J.D. Power 2024 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
Very cool.
All right, let's move to Sega because Sonic the Hedgehog is one of the most well-known characters around the world. Video game characters, one of the most well-known characters in the world. In fact, recently they did a study. Sonic actually did not come in first. Oddly enough, Lara Croft did. Lara Croft is the most well-known video game character, at least from that study. But if Sega didn't have Sonic at the helm, who takes his place? What did you find for Sega?
I have Lara Croft on my list.
For Sega?
You know, I believe I. Oh no! I'm sorry.
I was gonna say
no. My apologies. I'm looking at the wrong
No
list.
worries.
For me, my nostalgia, the very first game I ever played on Genesis was the main character of Alter Beast.
Oh yeah, of course.
I thought, I don't remember what his name is.
Rise from your grave.
He was iconic. And I'll tell you why I think he was iconic. The idea that for so long, all the characters that you played on screen were like 2 inches big.
Yep.
An inch or two big. And then all of a sudden this game comes out and holy smokes, the thing is like at least a foot and a half. Whoa. I'm like, this is finally, they listened to me. You know? I mean, that was also when, at a time when we had better vision. So, like I'm nearsighted now.
Yeah.
But, finally, it's like for the first time. And then to see, by the way, those transformations in between boards were like, it was like something out of like a movie, So that was pretty wild.
Well, I'll tell you this really quickly about Altered.
Yes.
The characters did not have a name. Actually, they did not have a name. And here's a little bit of information, which I absolutely love because I learned it a while ago reading up on this game. But in the Famicom version of Altered Beast, there are 3 more levels and 3 more transformations you make.
Whoa.
The other beast forms that you become are a shark, a lion, and a phoenix. If you have the Famicom game. Yeah.
Crazy.
But to your point, though, the Altered Beast that I played was on the Sega Genesis. That is the one that I remember playing. Either the arcade, because you remember Pronto Pizza around the corner from us
had
the arcade game. That's where I used to play it. Mm-hmm. Oh,
That's
Pronto
when it was
Pizza.
Pronto Pizza. Yeah.
It's still Pronto Pizza.
Yeah, but I'm saying they changed the whole look of
the
place.
the whole look has changed.
It's
Well,
a lot,
40 years.
It's a lot smaller now,
I thought they expanded next door.
They lost.
They got rid of that. They got rid of that. Okay.
The rent was too high.
Well,
but that's where they would have had the video games, and they closed that.
Yep.
Captain Video, I think, also had it as well.
Did they have Altered Beast? Okay.
Back in You and Coil. They had it. I think they had it. But that definitely, I'm sorry, fans, I don't recall the name of the character.
No, he didn't have a name. The character didn't have a name.
Okay.
No.
The second person is Alex Kidd.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, Alex Kidd was the original mascot. He was the original mascot until Sonic came along.
In Miracle World, right?
Yeah, Alex Kidd in Miracle World, and then there were 4 or 5 other games too.
Right. I just thought he had a cool look to him.
Yep.
Very, very unique. He was a very cool look. He was cute.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, guy, right?
Yeah. Cute goes a long way with characters, though. Cute goes a long way with mascots.
But that was a very good game. I remember that. That was really cool. I don't remember playing that game too much. Did you have it? No, right?
No, I did not, because I didn't have a Sega Master System. That's when Alex Kidd started. And I never picked up an Alex Kidd game on the Genesis, because by the time I got a Genesis, I think Sonic was the cool thing. So I went straight into Sonic.
Another one, because I'm a diehard martial art fan, is Kirayuki. I don't know if you remember him. He was Sega's answer to Ryu from Street Fighter. He looked like Ryu. He was in Virtua Fighter in 1993.
I was going to ask you, what game was he in? Virtua Fighter.
Yeah, he was. So from a martial artist standpoint, the character is just really unique. I mean, obviously, the moves that he can do, besides the basic ones, you can't do in real life.
Right.
At least I don't remember. I don't think you could do. But it was like one of those things where he looked like Ryu before Ryu was a thing, or he rivaled him or something. I don't recall.
Well, I don't know. Ryu had been around since like the first Street Fighter game came out, I think in like 87, 88. So Ryu actually predated. Yeah.
Then I'm going to guess that Akira was
based off of
Sega's
Ryu.
Answer. Yeah. But in the game Virtua Fighter, he was very, very recognizable. I think he was like a 4th or 5th degree fighter. I don't think he was the only face that was recognizable, but he was certainly a recognizable one, right?
Okay.
Another heroic one, and you know me, I love my fighting games. I like contact sport games, right?
Yes.
Axel Stone from Streets of Rage.
I have Axel and Blaze on my list as a twofer.
I'm an Axel guy, but yes, they do go hand in hand. You're absolutely right.
Axel and Blaze.
91 brought Streets of Rage. That was an awesome game.
Absolutely.
Especially living in New York City when you had it was crime ridden, before it became somewhat livable, and all that. You kind of wished as a kid that you could do what these guys have done, is just clean up the streets.
Yeah.
And with and end crime and stuff like that, blah blah blah.
So the few that I had here, and again, to your point, because Sega really hit their stride in the 90s, I was trying to think of 90s characters, which is why I thought of Streets of Rage as well. But then again, and I thought of Alex Kidd, but then I started going another route. Well, before I went the other route, here's another character, not as well known, but had the attitude and I think the look to be a really good mascot. The name of the game was Kid Chameleon. It came out in 1992.
Oh,
And if you remember the character in the game, the main character in the game, whose name is Kid Chameleon, he looks like a kid, maybe 13. I don't know, like, but he's wearing a black leather jacket, jeans with the bottoms cuffed up.
yeah.
He's got his hair slicked back and he's got sunglasses on. They do everything they can to make him look really, really cool,
Uh-huh.
right? And the hook for the game itself, the game had 100 levels. It was a platformer game, had 100 levels on it. But as his name, Kid Chameleon, he would get masks. He would collect masks in the game, and when he got a mask, he would transform into something. So he was always change, like his powers would change and stuff like that. And he also collected teleporters that allowed him to warp to places
Hmm.
in the game. So there was a lot. They played a lot of cool hip elements with him in the 90s, and I just thought
Hmm.
like this is perfect for a mascot, especially when Sega was all about being what was cool, what was hip, what was trendy. That was always their MO. They wanted to, that's why like Sonic always had like an attitude and everything. They were going for something more trendy to appeal to a gaming audience that was getting older, right? Because the kids
Hmm.
from the 80s now are starting to become teens in the 90s. And I think Kid
Right.
Chameleon was one of the responses to that. And so I think he would have been perfect to be a mascot for Sega at the time. And I think they could have obviously morphed him, no pun intended with the character though, morphed him into other things as time went on. Um,
Hmm.
that's what I thought with Kid Chameleon.
Hmm.
The other one I thought of, which was these are stranger characters, but also filling that cool, chill dude vibe would be Toe
Hmm.
Jam and Earl. I loved Toe Jam and Earl.
Yeah.
I loved them. They were aliens. They looked weird. They were completely different, but they were so cool.
Hmm.
I just thought they were so cool. And again, they had like a funky vibe to them.
Hmm.
And I just think that those were two characters. If you wanted to make them the mascots, I think you could have done that no brainer.
Definitely. Definitely.
Let's close it out with Sony. Got to go to the
Okay.
PlayStation, right?
Definitely. Definitely.
So they don't necessarily have a mascot. People are talking now that Astrobot may be considered Sony's mascot, or they're kind of prepping him to become their mascot, which completely, I'm completely 100% behind because if you've played the Astrobot games, they are amazing. Granted, the only ones that exist are on PS4, PS5, right? Astrobot does not go back that far. But
Hmm.
obviously we're going back that far. So let's go back, Ant. On the Sony PlayStation, who would be a great mascot based on their history?
PlayStation, I would say Laura Croft.
Yeah, she's
Okay.
licensed, but yes, I agree. Lara Croft is like the one you would think of.
And I hate to and knowing me, with the way that I did it when I started my research was I went to
Mhm.
Google and they said Crash Bandicoot.
Crash Bandicoot's another good one. Absolutely.
Um, I really don't remember playing that game.
They're fun games. They made a few.
I okay. Um, you know who's a recognizable character to me, and I think he would have made an awesome mascot. Awesome.
Mhm.
Would be the main character in Siphon Filter,
Oh, okay.
whatever his name was.
His name, I don't know. That name I do not know.
That was a
Um,
cool character, man. Was it
you can also
Spyro? I'm sorry.
Oh,
Right.
Spyro the Dragon is a good choice
Spyro the
too.
Dragon. Yep,
And
Spyro.
again, like to me, that's the kind of character that I think could morph as time goes on, so that he would
Mm,
have that mascot status. Like I always try and think of like characters that feel like I want to say the word evergreen. Evergreen is kind of like they can go on forever.
right.
Spyro to me would fit more of that MO than a Siphon Filter would, or like one of the games on some like Metal Gear Solid, like Solid Snake would be somebody I would mention, but I don't think they would get that far as a mascot.
Okay. Okay. Um, another
Logan.
person I had
Logan is the
on
name of the character in Siphon Filter, by the way.
Logan.
Logan.
Yes. Sheesh, I haven't played Siphon Filter in 10 years.
Yeah, it's came out in 99, so it's 25 years old.
For me,
26.
oh wow, it's
Yeah.
been a long time.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I would say to you that if you had to narrow it down to one specific face,
Yep.
I think that if you don't say Crash, if you don't say Laura, I would say Kratos. Kratos from God of
Great.
War.
He's on my list. I think like if you were gonna go the war category,
Yeah,
like that's why like I would leave Solid Snake behind. I would leave Logan behind.
great game,
I go right to Kratos from God of War.
great game. God of War was a really awesome game.
Hmm.
I just think that his look and his character, was just very memorable. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember playing that during my last year because it came out in '99. It was like my last year of college.
Was it? I
So
thought it was a little bit later than that.
was
I
it
thought it was like
99? I
I thought
thought
it
it
was
was
at least
99.
2001.
Oh no,
Um,
no. Maybe I'm thinking '09.
well, I mean, '09 would have had one, but God of War was well, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. It's been a while. God of War, the first, oh no, I'm sorry. First God of War was 2005.
'05. Okay.
Oh five.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I remember playing that. That was pretty awesome.
yep.
I never really got deep into it, you know.
There's so many
Never
guys.
really got deep into it, but I think that Kratos would have been a really good
Yep.
look for a mascot. So far, that's what I've got on my list.
Okay. I
Just
have,
those.
yeah, I have a few others on my list. From a licensed perspective, I had Lara Croft because I think like when I think of Sony PlayStation, I always think of Lara Croft. She comes to mind first. Um, the other one that comes to mind, again, not on the original PlayStation, started on PlayStation 2, but very iconic games. Devil May Cry, Dante from Devil May Cry
Dante,
with the long trench coat and all that stuff. I just think that's a
that's pretty
cool,
nice. Yeah, yeah,
cool
yeah.
character to have as a mascot for sure. Ratchet and Clank have been around for a while now on PlayStation. I think Rift in Time is the latest game that was on the PS5, which was really, really good.
Mm,
Those guys immediately come to mind too. Have you ever played a Ratchet and Clank game?
no,
Okay.
I don't recall playing any of that. No.
Yeah, Ratchet and Clank are really good. Ratchet is kind of like I want to call him a fox, but I'm not 100% sure like what he is. And
Was
then
Clank the worker drone?
Yeah,
Was
Clank was
Clank
a
the
little like
worker drone?
little robot kind of
Yeah,
guy. Yeah.
yeah.
So those were really cool ones. Jack and Daxter is another series where I think the two characters, one's human, the other one's I don't know what he is, a chameleon or something like that. He's a smaller marsupial like character. That came to mind. I had Parappa the Rapper on the list just for a joke because I don't think he can pull off mascot status. He's just freaky. But hey, you never know. He was like dog. He's dog like
Remember
so.
the game? I think for PS1, Twisted Metal,
Oh yeah, twisting like Sweet Tooth.
Sweet Tooth. That's who I was thinking about.
Yeah,
That's also a pretty wild
Sweet Tooth's another
character.
one.
Yeah.
The last one I have on my list, and this is the one that like I really do think if you needed to make a definitive mascot who is not Astrobot, Astrobot's my
Um,
guy. I love Astrobot.
right.
But this guy's got the look that I think could pull it off completely. And I'm talking about Sackboy from Little Big Planet. If you've never seen Sackboy, look him up right now. He just has mascot written all over his face, all over his little woolen knitted face. I just see that character and immediately think mascot.
Sackboy. Let's see
Sackboy.
here.
Yeah. He was part of he was part of the Little Big Planet series. They've made multiple
Oh,
games.
yeah.
He
He's
also
in
had
Sackboy Big Adventure.
yeah, he had his own game in 2020 called Sackboy: A Big
Yeah,
Adventure,
yeah.
but he was originally from Little Big Planet.
He's cute.
Um, yeah, he's literally yeah, that's the whole point. He's completely cute. He could exist outside of a video game. If you just saw him as a character, like that
Mhm,
stood as a standalone character, I'm like,
mhm.
I can just totally see that. It's like just Sackboy. I think of all of the stuff that I looked up for Sony, pushing Astrobot aside, pushing Lara Croft aside, Sackboy's the guy.
Okay.
Definitely the guy.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah. And that's my list for Sony. That's what I had. So
Yeah, same here.
yeah.
I would say that even though as popular, I would say that I don't think that PlayStation, they had memorable characters, right?
Mhm.
But nothing to the caliber of like a Sega or an NES for me,
No, I mean,
you know?
like I said, like if you're gonna pick like memorable characters, I think Lara Croft, again, considering Lara Croft is the most well-known video game character in the world. Like she is
You think
supersede.
so?
Well, again, this was a study done. She actually superseded Mario, which is crazy. Um,
That's nuts to me.
because you got to think on a global level. I guess on a global level, like if you take away US and Japan, there are different characters that lead the rest of the world.
Right.
And Lara Croft is the one that has it, which is actually kind of funny because when I went to last year, when I went to Europe, I was in Malaga, Spain, and I ran across a video game museum there. They had like a whole shrine to Lara Croft, like a whole wall to Lara
Wow.
Croft. Yeah, talking about like she is huge. She
That's
is
deep.
huge around the world. Um, so like I said, if you take away Lara Croft, take away Astrobot, I go Sackboy from Little Big Planet.
Right.
But with that, we have gotten through the 5 major companies. We actually talked about it way more than I expected. So you had some really good ones on your list.
Thanks.
And I did like the fact that a lot of them were separate from my own. Like I thought we were going to overlap a lot more than we did. So I thought that was really cool.
That was one of the worries that I had
Yeah.
going into this episode because I wanted to research some of it. So like I didn't spend so what I did was I didn't spend an entire day,
Mhm.
researching and really going back. Throughout the course of my work week, I started doing a bit here, a bit here, a bit here.
Yeah.
And then it came right around to the point of like Friday or Saturday. I kind of said to myself, like, man, I hope that there wasn't too much, there's not going to be too much overlap because then I would have. So, I wrote some on my notes, I wrote some on
Yep.
my phone, on my document. So, I had to go back and look at those and then, and then pinpoint where they were from. Um, yeah, so I mean, I'm glad that we didn't overlap. Like you had some excellent choices too. So
Thank you.
definitely, and I encourage all the listeners and people who watch the Retro Gamers that hey, if you don't know who any of these characters are, definitely go check them out. You
Yeah.
know,
Check them out, look them up, see if you can find a game that they appeared in and, base your own opinion on it. That's the cool thing about this. We're always here talking about different parts of gaming. Like I thought this was a cool one because we kind of focused on the characters themselves,
Mhm.
as opposed to like necessarily in the games themselves. So it was a really good discussion. So
Definitely,
yeah, cool. So
it's a great idea.
thanks. And with that, I think we're gonna wrap this up. For those of you out there, like you if you want to know where we are, if you want to know where else you can find us on social media, we're on Facebook.com/Retro Gamers Podcast, on Instagram and Blue Sky at Retro Gamers Podcast. You can watch us, you can listen to us wherever you listen to podcasts. You can watch us on YouTube and on Spotify at Retro Gamers Podcast. And you can email us at email@theretrogamers.com. And this has been an absolute pleasure. Do not stay away for so long next
Okay,
time. Okay, we're
I
gonna
certainly will not. I
no,
promise.
please, please, please come back. And again, for everybody else, please remember to like, share, and subscribe when you do check us out. That's always helpful for the podcast. And with that, we will catch you next time on the Retro Gamers Podcast.